Hey, we're going to visit my friend Becky Edwards today for the show. We're going to talk about steps in praying. Now, if you have ever been angry or frustrated that your prayers are not being answered, or maybe you feel like there's just this big wall there's this curtain where you just can't seem to get past it, you can't seem to get to God, and you're not getting your prayers answered. Well, maybe what we have to share today will help you. Maybe if you actually understood the steps in praying, that you can get those answers that you want. How is it we can do some amazing and sometimes unexplainable things, like heal our own bodies by the power of our thoughts? Mother's intuition, the law of attraction. Can we really tap into our subconscious mind? Can we really create our own realities? It begs the question, are we novice gods? All right, hey, thank you so much for joining us. I'm really excited to share my next guest with you. This is Becky Edwards. We connected, last year? She was on a summit that I did, and she is an expert in knowing how to get your prayers answered. Okay. Anyway, she's fantastic at that, and we're going to talk a little bit about the steps to praying, because, I don't know, for me, I really want to get better at getting answers to prayers, feeling guidance. And just before we started, we were kind of talking a little bit about how guided do you feel in your life? And I was feeling like I'm not as guided as I want to be, and I want to improve that. And you were saying, oh, I'm totally guided all the time.
Not all the time, but definitely better than I used to be.
Yeah, so how did you get there? How?
That's a great question. And you're not alone with feeling frustrated, just so you know. Okay. It's very common. I get a lot of feedback about that. And I'd like to share with your audience a little process that's actually really simple, but it's also really powerful. And it has brought a lot of people from feeling like, I feel like my prayers hit the ceiling. They don't actually bring answers back from God. I don't know what to do differently. I do everything I've been taught. What can I do differently? And this little process has broken that barrier for many people. So I invite you to try it. And I have a little visual here that I will show you. And it starts with, I made it into a sandwich. In my faith, I believe that scriptures and prayer is like a feasting opportunity, that we get to feast on this wonderful feeling of being filled with joy and peace and the things that God brings into our hearts as we do this process. So the first little step is to start with a prayer in this process, and that is where we first start with thanking. And I have really learned through the years of experience that thanking opens up a conduit of inspiration from God. There is something so powerful and such a high frequency and a high energy, a very holy feeling about thanking. Have you experienced that, Scott?
Yeah, no. Are you talking, I differentiate between thanking and gratitude.
Oh.
Like for me, gratitude is the magic key, because what gratitude is recognizing you are the recipient of deliberate kindness. Mm. So it's recognizing that exchange of love, because I know I get into a problem with thankfulness sometimes, because thankfulness to me, I often get into indebtedness, to where I feel, I'm less than who I could be because I had to borrow a truck from a friend or something. And so I thank him, but really I feel indebted. But when I feel gratitude, I feel like that love between, me and whoever, that they have shown me deliberate kindness. And when I feel that love, that's when I feel like my vibration goes up. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Then Scott, for you, I would change this to gratitude.
Okay.
Because that is the vibration. That's the energy we're after, is just to acknowledge God's hand in our lives. And as we do that, it opens us up to see more of his hand and to receive more answers. So that's the first step, is to pray and think and then ask. And what I would suggest is that every day, consider bringing a question to God. Like whatever your question may be. It could be little, like, well, what's the most important thing I should do today? What will make the biggest difference? Or it could be really big, like, I kind of feel like I'm supposed to change careers. That's scary, right, Scott?
Yeah.
Is this the right path for me? Is this where you're guiding me? It could be little things that have to do with relationships or finances or health, or, I sometimes have asked, in fact, I'll share an example. I asked a few years ago, what can I do to help heal my relationship with a 14-year-old son? Have you ever had a 14-year-old son?
Yes,
Yeah.
I have one right now.
Yeah.
And that's
It's
exactly
a
where I'm
tricky
at.
age.
Actually, it's 15 now, so
Yeah.
it's much better.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the answer I received back was so simple. It was offer to help him clean his room. Isn't that so simple? And I thought, well, I can do that. That's not a problem. Here's the interesting thing. I did that. I offered to help clean his room, and he refused. He wasn't rude about it, but he said, no, it's okay, Mom. But here's the cool thing. It shifted how he felt about me and how I felt about him. And that's what I really wanted, was for us to have a better connection. So asking, and what I suggest is that you express gratitude to God, and then you ask in your prayer as well as in a journal. It can be cheap, a little cute, inexpensive notebook or something fancy. I personally just last month published a Heaven Journaling Journal, but it doesn't have to be anything fancy. Then you open your scriptures anywhere. And that can be like, I'm going to pretend this is scriptures. Do I have any handy? And I'm going to say, all right, my question was, let's just say it was, what's the most important thing for me to do today? I could go like random, just let it fly open to some page, which sounds kind of crazy and silly.
I've done this and it works. It's
Yeah,
crazy.
isn't it amazing?
Yeah.
It is. And so that's the first idea. The other idea is just chronological. Say you were in Matthew chapter 5 yesterday, open to Matthew chapter 6. God can answer you through his Holy Spirit anywhere. Another one is to be intuitively, inspirationally guided where to go. So you may feel like, in fact, I'll share an experience. I was on my phone where I have a little scripture app, and I felt going to the New Testament would be the place where my answer would be. So then I scrolled through the books, and it felt like it was in Matthew. So, okay, open up Matthew, and I looked at the numbers of chapters, and it felt like it's either 5 or 6. Which one? I couldn't decipher, so I just started in 5, read partway into 6. There was an answer for me. Now, answers don't always come all in one big puzzle all put together. Sometimes it's a piece or a few pieces at a time. And as you gather those through writing, your puzzle starts to assemble itself. So the next step is to write. And it's pretty simple. I just write where I found an answer, maybe Matthew 6, 20 through 25 or something like that, this little passage, and then I write it in my own words. Here's kind of what it said. Now, if you want to take it to the next level, you write about what it meant to you.
Okay.
Like, how did that answer a question for you? What is it, does it remind you of something? How do you feel or think about it? And then, of course, the last step is to close with gratitude. I don't know about you, Scott, you have teenagers. Have you ever made a meal where you put some time and effort into a meal, and then your kids in general complain? Have you ever had that happen?
Yeah.
It's not very fun, right? And I don't know about you or you, Scott, but I have sometimes, I don't want to cook for that child again. So when we express gratitude, I just imagine that our God is very happy, that he wants to give us more. And that's been my experience. So I call that a sandwich, a heaven journaling sandwich.
Okay.
That starts with prayer, gratitude, and asking, and then scriptures, writing, and a prayer of thanks. And I'm not saying it works for me every single time, but almost all of the time. And it's been a process of developing that that's helped me be more inspired throughout the day. So little inspirations will come, and I feel like doing this process in the morning is ideal, but any time's better than none.
Yeah.
And it opens a conduit to receive other inspiration in the day.
That's really cool. I like that. Can I share one thing that
Absolutely.
I'm doing right now? So I've been doing this. Becky's pointed me in this direction, and it's been really helpful. The last, and this is really only the last few weeks, somebody gave me an idea to do for, because I felt like I wasn't getting the inspiration, I wasn't getting the direction that I wanted. And they gave me an idea to keep just a little book with me. And inside, whenever I get a prompting, I write down the prompting. And then right below it, I put I put a P and I put a circle, and then I will write down what I'm prompted to do. And then right after that, I will put an A, short for action, and I leave that blank until I do something about it.
Nice.
But the interesting thing is you talked about kind of the little promptings, like to help your son clean his room. I was feeling like I'm not getting the promptings. And then I find out they're really small little things.
We sometimes don't recognize it.
Yeah, because I'm waiting for the big stuff, I want big stuff to happen in my life. So anyway, so hopefully that helps you as you're thinking about what you can do to follow some steps in praying, to get your prayers answered more regularly, more consistently. This works, right?
Absolutely. And I've taught it to thousands of people, both in the United States and in other countries. And I've had people say kind of what Scott has said, like, I just don't know. I don't know if it'll work for me because I have a hard time just receiving answers. I have a hard time discerning. I don't know. And they're scared to even try it because they're scared to be disappointed. And so often I've heard back from them saying, oh my goodness, I can't believe how simple it is and yet how much it works. And it just brings this connection and this two-way communication with heaven that is so delicious, that brings more power and peace and purpose into your life from God. And who doesn't want more of that?
Yeah. I do want to touch on one more thing before we go. The questions that you ask. Somebody told me, in fact, if you watch back to a previous episode, Tyson Thacker, we interviewed him, he said the more specific your question or the better your question, the better your answer. Have you found that? And what counsel can you give us about the kinds of questions that you ask?
Yeah, absolutely. So some of the people who have been practicing this heaven journaling sandwich that I call, they have said that they'll ask a general question and not really receive a lot of guidance, and then they'll tweak their question to be more specific. Sometimes their question sometimes when they tweak it, it's something like, what do I need to do to be more in line to get the answer? Is there something I need to clean up in my life to be more of a clear conduit? Maybe I need to forgive someone. Maybe I need to ask forgiveness. Maybe I need to stop eating junk food all day long so I can actually, be a little more clear-headed. and that some of those foundational questions to clean up our ability to be a conduit of answers then lead us to answers. But yeah, getting more specific in your questions, and you can even ask for guidance with that. Like, help me be more specific. What could I ask for? What would you have me ask? And that's powerful.
Cool. That's super helpful. So hopefully that helps you as you're figuring out how can I follow some steps, kind of a formula to get more prayers answered. That's a great way to go. Just real quick, how can they get in touch with you if they have more questions or want to go deeper into this?
Absolutely. Purpose-driven motherhood, that's my old branding. Purpose-drivenmentoring.com is my new branding. My name is Becky Edwards, and heaven journaling is the process we've been talking about.
All right. So thank you so much. Make sure you catch another episode because we're going to talk a little bit more about this. Thanks. We'll see you next time. What do you think? You've heard our thoughts? Now let's hear yours. In the comment section below, share what impressions came to your mind. What did you get out of this? If you have had thoughts to take action, please do so. Always listen to your inner voice. It's your ultimate guidance system. Of course, the best place to take action is at scottwilhite.com, because if you join me for a free web class, I will reward you by sending you my purpose planner so you can have a physical guide to help you get in touch with your inner guide. What if you are a God in the making? That would mean there's purpose to your life, meaning to your challenges. You have a great work to do. May you have the courage, faith, and power to become who you were truly meant to be. See you next time.